Okay, now, of course, continuing with the chapter of supply and demand. Now, after explaining the demand and supply and all the factors concerning the demand and supply, now we put the demand and supply together in order to study the transactions that take place. Because unless the demand and supply, you know, are together, we cannot actually know what happens to the price and the quantity, the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. So we must, put them together. So as you can see here, we have a data, okay, demand and supply schedule. Of course, the price, increases from 10 all the way to 60. The coin demanded, as you can see, as the price increases, the coin demand decreases. And as the price increases, the coin supply increases, as we learned when we studied the law of demand and the law of supply. Now, this demand and supply schedules, of course, is drawn here. As you can see, the demand is this, the downward sloping curve, and the supply is the upward sloping curve. Now, the point of intersection between them, of course, give us the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Of course, they intersect over here. Okay, as you can see, this is here. This is, where when demand is equal to when supply, we come up with the equilibrium price. Okay, as you can see, this is the equilibrium price. It is the price where quantity demanded is equal to quantity supply. Okay, so whenever we want to calculate the equilibrium price or quantity, what we do, we just set a QD equal to QS. That is, quantity demanded equal quantity supplied, and we will basically determine the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Now, as you can see here, the equilibrium price is 40. Okay, the equilibrium price is 40. It is at the intersection of the demand and supply. Now, as you can see over here, the price at which quantity demanded is equal to the quantity supplied is called the equilibrium price or market clearing price. So equilibrium price is or market clearing price. They mean the same thing. It is the price where quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied, or it is determined by the intersection of demand and supply curves. Now here, of course, as you can see, we need to basically, when we put demand and supply together, we need to find out at which prices we're going to have a shortage or excess demand or a surplus or excess supply. So whenever the price is greater than the equilibrium price, then we're going to have a surplus or excess supply. So as you can see, this is 40 is the equilibrium price. So at any price above 40, whether it's 50 or 60, we're going to have a surplus. At any of these prices, 50 or 60, you will notice that a quantity supply is greater than quantity demanded. So at price 50, which is greater than 40, the equilibrium price, as you can see, if you draw a horizontal line, it will cut the supply here, and then you draw a vertical line, you're going to come up with 80. Okay, you're going to come up with 80. And to find the quantity demanded at P equal 50 above the equilibrium price, then we come up with what? With 60. So as you can see, at P greater than the equilibrium price, such as 50 or 60, you're going to experience the quantity supply greater than the quantity demanded. So whenever a quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded, we're going to have a surplus or excess supply. So let's look at the other way. What about shortage? A shortage is attained whenever a quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied. Quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied, then we will have a shortage. So at any price below 40, whether it's 30 or 20 or 10, you will have a shortage. Why? At P equal 30, below the equilibrium price 40, you're going to have the quantity demanded here, where the horizontal line cut the demand curve here, and a line vertical, get 80, okay? At price of 30, as you can see, the quantity demand is 80, and the quantity supply is 60. So the quantity demand is greater than the quantity supply. If you want to know the amount of the surplus, all we have to do, the amount of the shortage, all we have to do, subtract the quantity supplied from the quantity demanded. If you want to know the amount of a surplus, all we have to do, subtract the quantity demanded from the quantity supplied. Because we have a surplus when the quantity supplied is greater than the quantity demanded. So to get the amount of the surplus, subtract, the quantity demanded from the quantity supplied, and you come up with the amount of the surplus. Same thing can be done with the shortage. Now, also at the price equal to 20, you're going to have a shortage because you're going to have the quantity demanded is greater than the quantity supplied. The same thing can be said about the price equal 10, where at the price equal 10, the quantity demanded is greater than the quantity supplied. At the price equal 10, the quantity demand is 100, and the quantity supplied is 40. So the amount of the shortage is 100 minus 40, which is 60. Great. Now, a market that shows either a surplus where the quantity supply is greater than quantity demand, or a shortage where the quantity demand is greater than quantity supply, is in this equilibrium. In other words, we will have a disequilibrium state whenever we have a surplus or a shortage. We will have a disequilibrium state whenever we have a surplus or a shortage. Okay? We have an equilibrium state whenever we don't have a surplus or a shortage. Okay? Here we have, at this point here, where demand intersects supply, we have equilibrium state. Okay, over here in the state of a surplus or state of a shortage, we have a disequilibrium state, or the market is in disequilibrium. Now, when there is a surplus, what will happen? What is the mechanism that the market will go back to equilibrium? Of course, when we have a surplus, it means that suppliers or producers will end up with lots of inventories. Okay? Beyond their inventories will grow beyond the level they hold for preparations for demand changes. So when you have a surplus, it means producers are unable to get rid of their inventories. So what do? Some will reduce the price, will lower the price. In order to do what? To reduce their inventories. Some others will cut back on production. Okay? And others also will do a little opposite. That is, reducing the price and reducing their, of course, output. And eventually, as you can see, when the price and output tend to fall, eventually equilibrium will be reached, will be achieved. Equilibrium will finally will be achieved. When what? When the price and, of course, output tend to fall, eventually will go back to equilibrium. Same thing can be said about a shortage. When we have a shortage, of course, purchasers won't be able to purchase all they had hoped to buy at, for instance, P equal 20. P equal 20, we have a shortage. Or at P equal 10. Or at P equal 30. So what they do? Some buyers will bid up the price. That is, will attempt to raise the price. Okay? To get the producers or sellers, to sell to them instead of to other buyers. They tend to ask, for higher prices, to offer higher prices, so that they can, get the products. Okay. Some producers, seeing, of course, buyers want the goods, they are desperate to get the goods. So what they do? They go ahead and raise the price. Okay, they raise the price of the goods, of course, that they have for sale. So therefore, price and output will rise. So whenever we have a shortage, price and output, what we do, will rise up. Whenever we have a surplus, price and output will go down until equilibrium is reached. And whenever we have a shortage, price and output will tend to, increase until, of course, equilibrium is attained. Now we move to talk about two important concepts, consumer surplus and producer surplus. So here we're talking about equilibrium in terms of consumer surplus and producer surplus. What actually do we mean when we say consumer surplus? What actually do we mean when we say producer surplus? So consumer surplus, of course, is defined as the maximum buying price minus price paid. The maximum buying price minus price paid. Okay, let me give an example. Suppose, you are shopping for a car. You have seen a very nice sporty car, and you said to yourself, gosh, I'm willing to pay $10,000, as high as $10,000 for that car. However, in actuality, you only pay $7,000 for it. So what that means about consumer surplus? It means that you have gained some benefit. The benefit is that the difference between the maximum price you are willing to pay for the car, which is $10,000, and the price you actually paid for it, which is $7,000. So the difference between them is $3,000. This is considered as a gain for you. It is called consumer surplus. Okay? So also consumer surplus, as you can see, can be represented by a shaded area. Okay? If we draw, as you can see the graphs over here, this and that, concerns, these two graphs concern the consumer surplus. The first graph, I'm saying that consumer surplus is represented by the shaded area, triangle, between the area below the demand curve and above the equilibrium price. As you can see over here, this is the demand and this is supply. So what I'm saying here, the consumer surplus is represented by the shaded triangle, as you can see, between the demand and the supply, the equilibrium price. So it is the area under the demand and above the equilibrium price. Under the demand and above the equilibrium price. This triangular area is called consumer surplus. Now, of course, we can represent the consumer surplus according to this definition: maximum buying price minus price paid. Okay, graphically, as you can see over here, the equilibrium price is $10. The consumer, is willing to pay as high as was willing to pay for the 100 unit as high as $15. However, in actuality, he only pays $10. He is willing to pay for the 100 unit of the good as high as $15. However, in actuality, how much he pays? He pays only $10. Therefore, the consumer surplus is the difference between the maximum, buying price and the price actually paid, which is 15 minus 10, which is $5. So here, the consumer surplus is represented by the difference between the maximum, buying price and the price actually paid, which is 15 minus 10, which is equal $5. Now we go to talk about the producer surplus, which concerns producers, sellers. So what actually we mean? What actually do we mean when we say producer surplus? Of course, a producer surplus is, as you can see, is the price received, actually received, minus minimum selling price, minus minimum selling price. So in graphically, we can represent this one by the area above the supply curve and below the equilibrium price. So it is the triangle area above the supply curve and below the equilibrium price. As you can see over here, this is the supply curve and this is the demand. So I said it's represented by the triangle area above the supply and below the equilibrium price. This is the this is the producer surplus. Okay? This is the opposite to the consumer surplus, which is the triangle area, of course, below the demand and above the equilibrium price. Here, the producer surplus is the area, or the triangle area above the supply and below the equilibrium price. Okay? Now, of course, we can, when we say about the definition of the producer surplus, we said it's equal the price received minus minimum selling price. So here the equilibrium price is $10. Now, the producer, would have sold the 100 unit over here of the good as low as $7. As low as $7. Would have, sold, the product, the 100 unit of the product for as low as $7. However, he sold it for $10. He was willing to accept, as low as $7. But however, he could sell the good for $10. So the difference between the price received and the minimum selling price is called the producer surplus. As you can see, it's 10 minus 7, which is equal the producer surplus, which is $3. This is the producer surplus. Okay? Great. Now, of course, here, these two graphs here concerns the producer surplus, and these two graphs concern the consumer surplus. Now, we move to talk about what can change equilibrium price and quantity. Remember that equilibrium price and the quantity are determined by supply and demand. You should have supply and demand in order to determine the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. You can't, come up with the equilibrium price or equilibrium quantity unless both demand and supply exist. If only the demand exists and the supply does not exist, we cannot, have any transaction. Therefore, demand and supply are very important for the equilibrium price and quantity to be determined. So here, as you see, equilibrium price and quantity are determined by supply and demand. Therefore, whenever demand changes, supply changes, or both change, then equilibrium price and quantity will change. Anytime the supply changes, or demand changes, or both, then what you're going to see, you're going to notice that the price will change, the equilibrium price changes, and the equilibrium quantity changes. Okay? Now, here I will show or illustrate some cases graphically above where this occurs. Okay, here in the first case, A, as you can see, the demand rises. That is, it shifts to the right from D0 to D1, as you can see the arrow. And the supply falls from S0 to S1, shift leftward. But however, as you can see, both changes by the same amount. So the demand shifts left to the right, that is, increases by the same amount as the supply decreases. So as a result of this situation, what you will see, the quantity is the same. However, the price will increase from B1 to B2. The second case B, what you see here, the demand decreases by the same amount as the supply increases, as you can see. So what will happen here? The quantity stays the same, however, the price will go down in the second case. In the first case, demand increases. In the second case, demand decreases. However, the supply increases. This case B is the opposite of case A. But as you can see, both changes by the same amount. So in the second case here, the quantity is the same, however, the price will decrease. What about the case C? Case C, as you can see, the demand is the same. There is no change in the demand. However, supply increases, that is shift to the right. What happens? As you can see, the quantity increases and the price decreases. Now what about case D? Case D, as you can see, the demand increases, shift to the right. And the supply decreases, shift to the left. However, the demand increases by more than the supply decreases. The demand increases by a greater amount than the supply decreases. What is the result of this scenario is the following. As you can see, quantity increases and the price increases. So whenever the demand increases by a greater amount than the supply decreases, then you're going to have the quantity increases and the price increases. The quantity increases and the price increases. What about the case E? Case E, as you can see, the demand increases and the supply decreases. However, the demand increases by a smaller amount than the supply decreases. So the amount of increase of the demand is less than the amount of the decrease of the supply. What is the result? As you can see, the quantity decreases and the price increases.